So first up, I just want to introduce the Cloud Data Marketplace and the problem that we were trying to solve when we designed it and when we built it. Now, this should be familiar to most of you. This legacy data shopping experience is a common experience across kind of pretty much any organization where people need to get their hands on data, which is pretty much any organization at all in my experience. So what you have in these organizations is, of course, people who need access to data, the potential data consumers. And some examples of who they might be are coming up on the screen. So might be a data scientist for analytics, might be someone in the HR department because they're onboarding a new employee, might be a senior manager, someone in the customer team. Anybody really can be a data consumer. Now, as there's such a broad range of different data consumers, this means that they will have quite a different set of skills. Some of them will be much more technical, some of them won't be technical at all, and of course there'll be those in between. As a result, they are going to be looking for data and finding data in quite different ways. So if you don't have a kind of centralized route like a data marketplace, then people will look in all sorts of different ways to find the data they need. For instance, some people might go directly to a data app like a data lake or a cloud data warehouse to try and find the data they need. That's probably the people who are slightly more technically aware, technically savvy. Some might go to a data catalog to get pointed in the right direction. Some might have a contact or know someone in data operations who knows where they can get good data, or even know a particular owner of a particular system that contains the data they need who could give them access. Some might rely more on word of mouth and ask their colleagues and hear about where the data could be. And leading on from there, some might even email and ask for peer-to-peer sharing of data. Now, as you can see, as we're moving further to the right on this slide, we're getting more into slightly riskier, slightly more Wild West ways of finding data. If people can't find it internally, they might search for external sources, try and find something on Google, for instance. Sometimes they won't be able to find the right thing and will have to settle for something that's not quite right. And sometimes they won't be able to find the data at all. So these are the different experiences that they might go through. As mentioned, these are becoming progressively more risky as we move to the right-hand side of the screen. As a result of this as well, if you think about how all of these different people are looking for data in all of these different ways, you must see that it's almost impossible to understand demand and usage, because while we might be able to track usage within a specific example, like within a data lake or even via the data operations team, bringing all of this information together is near enough impossible. So it's very hard to get a holistic view over how data is being used. Also, when people then get access to the data, they're going to be doing that in different ways. They might already have access if it's in their bucket within a particular data lake, for instance. They might have to ask for it from a data owner or a system owner. They might have to just ask a colleague if they're dependent on that peer-to-peer sharing. And again, sometimes they won't know who to ask or how to get it. So this is the legacy experience in a nutshell. And I'm going to take us through how that kind of can cost you as an organization by talking about the different data compromises that might be made as a result of this experience. For instance, if you're potentially you do have access to some data already, maybe it's too much work to get access to something new, so you end up using something you already have and just hoping for the best. It's not a huge compromise, but it's maybe not the ideal data set that would have enriched your analytics to your heart's content. Another example is something a little bit more extreme version of that is that you have access to something. You know that it's got some problems. Maybe the data quality is not perfect. Maybe it's missing some fields, which could be really useful to you. Maybe the sample size isn't big enough, but you use it anyway because, again, you don't want to waste time and you don't know where to find something better. Compromise 3 is when you don't have what you need, so you have to go out looking for it, and you end up wasting a huge amount of time. Maybe you're chasing the wrong people who don't know how to get you the data you need. Maybe you're creating requests in duplicate and wasting other teams' time when they could have just put it in one place. This is all about the time that it costs the organization. The fourth compromise is related to that risk that we talked about as we were moving further to the right of the screen. If you don't have control or visibility around access because people are doing things like sharing via email, you really run into quite a lot of risk. You could be looking at compliance risk, for instance. Say you were sharing personal details without really thinking about it. That's not going to be compliant with GDPR or CCPA, and you're putting your company at risk in that way. Finally, the ultimate compromise is when you end up giving up. You just can't find the data you need, and you have to defer or change your approach entirely. So this is all of the compromises that might be made every day in an organization to some degree or another. So how do we want to get past this? Well, we're looking to simplify the data sharing experience, which means making sure, firstly, that we're going to cater to every single type of data consumer. So I talked about those hybrid data consumers, the more technical ones and the least technical. If we're going to cater to all of them, we have to build something that is appealing and intuitive for the least technically savvy amongst them. We need anybody without any training, without any kind of, knowledge of how these things should work, without any kind of information like that, to be able to pick up a data marketplace and be able to just use it. So we need the experience to be consistent, but it has to cater to everybody. So it has to be as simple and as usable as possible. We also need to think about how we're directing people to find data. So a lot of the problems that arose in that legacy data shopping experience is people are going through all these different sources, all of these different places and areas to get data, when they should be going to a centralized route. And even if the data isn't there, that would still be their first port of call to get the data they need added. Also, by way of directing them to this centralized area, you can start off not just by dealing with custom requests all the time, but showing them what data is readily available, so people can make informed decisions about whether they just want to order something that already exists. You can think of it as having your data products in a shared shop window, or if they need to order something bespoke, and then of course that will be catered for as well. Once they've found it, they need to get access to it, not necessarily in the place it came from, but in the place that is most suitable for them. Maybe they are only used to reporting tools like Tableau, and that's how they know how to manipulate and use their data. So you need to make sure that you can streamline the delivery to the places they need to get it at. They need to receive the data. Finally, by centralizing all of this, and bringing everybody who are going through all of these different routes previously to one place, you're going to get the added benefit of being able to track usage. For the first time, you've got visibility on who is ordering data, what kind of data they're ordering, what kind of projects they're using it for, how they are getting it delivered, so what kind of tools they're using it in, and you can start to really gain insights about your data community, which will in turn allow you to optimize efficiency. So that is the kind of principles upon which we built the Informatica Cloud Data Marketplace, was to solve the problem we've been talking about. In order to do so, we have enabled it to be for every consumer. So I think it's been designed to be intuitive and easy to use, but more than that, not just intuitive, as every product manager will say their product is intuitive. There's a lot of inbuilt help. So if you do ever get stuck, we don't send you to, look up some reference buried deep in pages and pages of documentation. We have contextual, updated guidance throughout the tool, which will move with you, as we'll see in the demo, and tell you what you should be doing at any one time. Now, we also are looking to represent data from every source. So we're not shutting out any data options. All data sources are on the table. As well as that, we are going to gather metadata from any source that you may be using. So if you are using our cloud data governance and catalog product, we can integrate directly with that. We have a native integration. But equally, if you're using Axon or Enterprise Data Catalog, or even an external catalog that has nothing to do with Informatica, we have the APIs to bring the metadata in from any of those, and they are readily available to you. So we don't want to cut you off from bringing data and metadata in from any source whatsoever. Finally, we're of course going to deliver to any destination that people need to get data in. So whether that's Snowflake, AWS, Databricks, Google, BigQuery, wherever it may be, all of those tools can have the data delivered to them. So I've talked a little bit about this as we've gone along, but the approach, just to kind of hammer that home, openness is key for us. I've talked about the APIs that we have for metadata. We also have just published a whole set of APIs for order management, so you can begin to integrate with order management ticketing systems like Jira or ServiceNow. Of course, the tool is cloud. It's a SaaS solution, so it will be quick and easy to deploy, and also come as part of the intelligent data management cloud pricing. And as I've stressed already, the ease of use and the transparency are some of the benefits as well. So that intuitive experience that allows everybody to get involved, and then the transparency that exposes how the community is using data at large, because nobody should need to go outside of the marketplace to find data, because everybody is catered for within it.